meditation, some inspiration. If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. Starting getting into the mentality, getting into the ability, putting ourselves in a place of focus, putting ourselves in a place where we utilize our mentality, where we utilize our ability inside of ourselves, giving ourselves the ability to face off against the challenges that we face off against daily, looking inside of who we are, focusing to the point where we use our challenges for us and asking ourselves the questions that nobody else can. So, what are some of those challenges that you might be facing off against today? What are some of those things that you might be challenged with today? And what are some of those places where you might want to go in your life and in your ability inside of yourself to focus through your challenges? And a lot of us have challenges. We have things to work on. We have places that we want to go, and we have things that we want to do. And a lot of us ask the question, how do we do so? How do we get there? How do we start to put ourselves in a place where we have the ability to overcome the challenges? And it comes down to our level of focus, comes down to what we're focused on, comes down to where we give our energy, where we give our attention. And so sometimes the peaceful thing to do is to step outside of the situation, step outside of the ability, allow those people to have that place inside of themselves to where they have to ask themselves the questions. And it's a really great thing to have that ability to have those kinds of challenges. See, each of us are facing off against different things inside of ourselves. We're facing off against things around us. When do we allow the things that we face off against the inside to not have the ability to stop us? When do we give ourselves permission to be who we are and to face off against our own challenges? And see, that was the question that I started to ask myself when I was looking inwards. See, I started to hear when I started helping people that they were looking at it in a selfish way, that it was all about them, but when it really isn't. It's about you being yourself. It's about you facing off against your own challenges. And when we face off against challenges, we're looking inside. We're looking at how we can grow within ourselves, how we can be who we truly are on the inside. And sometimes those challenges might be that you might have to wake up at a certain time. You might have a certain set of things going on in your life. You might have a certain set of challenges that you're focused into. And so what are those challenges that you're focused on? What are those things that you're going through on a daily basis that that you have to work on? And a lot of us stop ourselves at that page. We stop ourselves at that ability. We want somebody else to take over. When do we take over our own being? When do we take over our own focus? When do we take over our own ability inside of ourselves? And not a selfish way, but a selfless, to be yourself. You see, a lot of the challenges that we face off against inside of ourselves, sometimes we crush the people that are around us. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed. Sometimes we realize that sometimes stepping out of the situation is the best thing to do. And you see, it's not to be upset at that person or be upset at those types of people for having those kind of challenges. It's about you and your challenges and your ability to work through your own challenges, to put yourself in a place where you're so focused that the ability for the things that aren't meant for you have the ability to move out of the way on their own. And so, are we giving ourselves that place? Are we putting ourselves in a place where we're focused into positivity? We're actually focused into the things that bring us towards a positive direction. And are we putting ourselves in a place where we're allowing the being inside to grow? And so I look at that ability. It reminds me every day to love yourself. It reminds me every day to know yourself. And each day that we face off against our own challenges, is a victory. It's an ability to get to the point where what's going on inside doesn't have the ability to overcome you, but you have the ability to overcome your challenges. And you see, when we focus to that level where we're trying to bring positivity to the situation. We're trying to bring positivity to the environment. We're trying to bring the ability for only the things that are positive to move into our direction. We got to allow the things that are not meant for us to move out of the way. And so when I look at the challenges that I and at least for myself in life, have faced off against, it's when you allow those things to go in their own direction. It's when you allow them to have their own place and to face off against their own challenges. And in life, the challenges that we face off against on a daily basis sometimes are not easy. Sometimes, like getting up in the morning is a great routine. It's an ability for you to start to get yourself in a habit, but also putting yourself to bed on time is also important as well too. And so if we're focusing on that ability, if we're giving ourselves that place, and if people are not allowing you to be yourself, if they're not allowing you to be who you are on the inside, then you have to look inside of yourself. You have to look at your own challenge. You have to look at your own being and recognize that the focus from within is what matters. And if this is a positive person and you're pushing them away, then you're allowing the negativity to take over your life. You're allowing the things that would move you towards that direction. So what are you seeking out? What is it that you're truly seeking out on a daily basis? What is it that you're putting your mind to? What is it that you're putting your ability to? What is it that you go through on a daily basis that tests you? Because all life is a test. It's a series of tests that we face off against on a daily basis, a series of things that we go through in such a way that they ask us the questions, right? Like if you want to get in shape, if you want to be healthy, you got to do the things so that you get the results. If you don't put yourself in the place, and if you don't put yourself in a way in which your mentality is giving you the ability, if you're not putting yourself in a place where your mentality gives you the ability to get to that place inside of yourself, then the results are not a surprise too. And so a lot of people try to expect a lot of things from people that are not them. They look for things on the outside instead of what's going on the inside. They start to search for it on the outside instead of going within. And so when the universe crushes them from the outside, they're in shock. They're trying to look at what is doing this or what is doing that, instead of looking within themselves at how they can overcome their own challenges. And you see, this is the place inside where a foundation starts to build. It starts to ask you the question. It starts to wake up to you. It starts to say, hey, are you focused? Are you truly in the place where you want to be? Is your mentality in such a way that the ability inside of yourself is bringing positivity in your direction? And sometimes stepping outside of the room to allow that for you to analyze the situation, for you to allow that other people's words or other people's actions don't have the ability to affect you is sometimes the best thing to do. You see, focusing to that point where your mentality starts to work, that's your choice. It's your ability to choose where you put your positivity, where you put your negativity, how you utilize your ability to be who you are on the inside. You see, when we focus into that, when we allow ourselves to have that kind of mentality where we're using what we have inside, then the reflection starts to radiate. The results start to become a reflection on the outside. And that is called motivation. Okay, so what you focus into is what you're going to be putting your attention to. What you put your attention to is what's going to create a ripple or a manifestation within your being. It's going to create a manifestation within your level of understanding. And so if you're manifesting that the people that are positive in your life are going to leave your life, that's what's going to happen. If you're going to put yourself in a place where you're going to feel like poor me, then that's what you're going to get. If you're going to put yourself in a place where your mentality starts to grow, your ability starts to grow, your challenges start to grow, then you got to focus on that page. You got to focus on that level of positivity. And sometimes you have to look at the situation and be like, is this what I truly want? Is this how I truly want to do these things? You see, when we get upset at the people that really do care about us, that really do want to be there for us, when we lose our cool, when we lose our ability to have that kind of place inside of ourselves, we lose the ability for positivity to come in our direction. We lose the ability for the person who we are inside to grow. And so, are we doing that for ourselves? Are we putting ourselves in those kind of places, or are we bringing ourselves closer to who we are on the inside? See, focus allows things to move out of the way that aren't meant for you. It allows the challenges that you face off against to move out of the way. It allows the people to do the things to themselves, to be who they are, to see themselves for who they are. And that is a positive thing. It's absolutely a positive thing when we're facing off against challenges at that level. And so, are you facing off against your challenges at that level? Are you putting yourself in a place where you're using your challenges, where you're putting yourself in a place where your mentality has the ability to grow? You see, focusing to that level where what you got going on inside is greater than what's going on the outside is where you want to be. Where your challenges that you face off against, you have the ability to overcome. Where the mentality inside of yourself becomes a reflection, where what you're focused into, you have the ability to overcome. And so, if you start to identify positivity moving in your direction, you start pushing it away, you start putting people in a place where they are moving out of the way, realize that your own self-honesty is opening up. Realize that your own self-being is opening up. And ask yourself, what is it that you're searching for? What are the challenges that you're going through? What are the places that you want to go? And what is the things that you want to do? And so let's go ahead and start looking at how we can use tools, how we can use the things that we face off against to overcome them, how we can see that what we're going through is not greater than who we are. And see, when you're faced off against challenges, when you see things working against you, when you see things that are there, you got to recognize that they're there so that things that are positive can start moving in your direction. You see, at that level inside of yourself where you're focused to the point where the challenges no longer have the ability to stop you. If you're focused to the point where you have the ability inside of yourself to overcome it. If you're focused to the point where what's going on inside of you is greater than the challenges around you, then what happens is the challenges around you are not as great as you are on the inside. And that is called mentality. That is called the able mentality. The ability to be focused beyond focus. And it's inside of ourselves. It's inside of where we want to be. It's inside of the things that we want to do. It's inside of the person that we want to become. And so, where do you go to get to that level? How do you get to that level? When do the challenges that you face off against, they start to become overcome? They start to become a part of your life. They become a part of your being. You start to embrace your challenges. You start to embrace the person that you are inside. You start to embrace the things that you go through. And each of us go through challenges. Each of us have things that we have to work through. We have places that we want to go. We have things that we want to do. Are we focused to that level where we use those challenges at a level where we become the challenge, where we become the ability to use the universe, where the universe starts to utilize us? And how do you start to utilize the universe? Where do you start to utilize the universe? And so each of us has growth inside of ourselves. We have things that we want to work on and that we want to do and that we want to become. And so each day that we do that for ourselves, each day that we give ourselves that place, each day that we get down with our own level of self-honesty, our own level of being, our own level of focus, and it's in a peaceful way that we do that, in a positive direction. in a positive being, and in a positive mentality, and a positive of reflection outwards, that we utilize it. And it's a lot of us are challenged in that way, where we feel like it's our fault. We feel like somebody else is gonna come and pick us up, and we got to pick ourselves up. See, inside, the reflection radiates outwards. Inside, the being starts to work. Inside, the challenges start to become a part of you. And it's up to you to want to embrace it. It's up to you to want to challenge it. It's up to you to want to become it. And it's only going to happen if you want it for yourself. It's only going to happen if you go within you. It's only going to happen if you're willing to challenge what others won't challenge. So how do we start to do that? How do we start to get to that point? How do we start to focus on what is inside of ourselves? How do we start to truly be who we are on the inside, and we start to focus past those kinds of challenges? See, the challenges that we face off against is not against one another. It's against ourselves. It's against our own being. It's against our own mentalities. And so, where do we start to use our mentalities at that level? How do we start to use our mentalities at that level? How do we start to, when we're in our positions and we're in our professions, how do we start to use our professions in such a way that the ability to utilize it becomes a form of mentality? See, a lot of people search out positions because they need the income. When do we search out professions for the ability for our mentalities to become stimulated, for the ability inside of ourselves to start to work, where we focus past our own challenges? And so when we are focusing to that level where we're using our challenges to our advantage, where we're using our ability inside of ourselves to focus through them, when we're at a point where we recognize ourselves, where we become honest with ourselves, where we focus through those types of things. And so, are we on that page where we're allowing ourselves to grow, where we're allowing ourselves to be who we are on the inside, where we're focusing to the point where we use our challenges, where we truly focus to that level? And see, I've seen it time and time again where people start something and then they quit. They start something and then they want to give up. They start something and then they don't put their mentality into it. And it's when you decide that you're not going to allow those types of things to affect you. You're not going to allow those types of things to be a part of your life. You're not going to allow that type of things to have a part of your mentality. See, I do this daily. I do this weekly. I do this monthly, yearly. And I focus at it on a daily basis. I focus at it in such a way that I know that the results are not going to be a surprise. I know that the results are not going to stop me. They're not going to hold me back. They're not going to stop the ability for me to go inwards and to love myself. See, at that level inside of oneself, where we're using our challenges to our advantage, where we're using our abilities to our advantage, the things and the people that might want to stop you don't have the ability to, because they just bring you closer to being yourself. They bring you closer to facing off against your challenges. They bring you closer to your mentality. And it's an able mentality. It's an able ability. It's the challenges that you face off against that you start to overcome when you believe in yourself, when you believe in your level of focus, when you believe in your ability. And it's inside of yourself to grow. It's inside of yourself to become. It's inside of yourself to focus beyond your challenges. And each of us have challenge. Each of us have things to work on. Each of us have places to go within ourselves where when we focus to that level, we start to utilize it. When we focus to that level, our being starts to radiate light outwards. And you got to hear yourself on that. You got to hear yourself within you. You got to believe that you can do it, that you can become it, that you can manifest it. And I see this daily. I see people stopping themselves from that level. And it was a challenge that I just had to face off against not even a day ago. It's the ability to step out of the room to allow the situation to calm down, that I won't accept certain things, I won't put myself in certain places, because the mentality, all I could be is myself, all I can face off against is my own challenges, just like you can too. See, but that's up to you to want that level of focus. It's up to you to want that place inside of yourself. It's up to you to want to become that kind of person where you utilize that inside of who you are. And so, are we focusing to that level, or are we trying to stop those people from being who they are on the inside? Are we trying to stop them from growing? See, it's not just for you to grow, it's for other people to have their own path, to have their own journey, to have their own purpose. Each of us have one of those. We have a path. Each of us have a purpose. Each of us has a journey. Your journey is important. Your path is important. And your purpose is important. And it's only when you go inside within you that you start to utilize it. And sometimes you have to step outside of the room to allow the stuff that's happening inside of the room to have its own place. To allow your own positivity, to not allow you to be in places where you can see negativity, where you can see things that are not bringing you closer to your goals, your dreams, your focuses. See, bringing yourself closer to who you are inside, bringing yourself closer to facing off against your challenges, bringing yourself closer to being who you want to become. That's your own path, your own journey, your own purpose. And so when others are trying to stop you from doing that, sometimes you have to step out of the room. It's not that you don't care about them. It's not that you don't want them to be near you. It's that you absolutely are focused on your ability to grow. It's when you're focused to that level where growth starts to happen. It's when you start to hit that floor that you start to get to the point where you start to pick yourself up. And in a profession, in our homes, in our jobs, and in our lives, we have to allow those things to move out of the way. And so how do we start to do so? See, you have to allow yourself to be in situations where you either have positivity around you or negativity around you. It's completely up to you to how you put your mentality in place, what you allow to have around you. See, so if you're in a place where you're focusing on that and you want to be in that type of challenge, then you have to focus to the point where the only thing you start searching out is positivity. And if those people try to stop you from having that, you have to go within yourself and start asking yourself, where do I go to grow? Where do I go to become who I am? Where do I go to be who I am on the inside? And so it's in your mentality, and sometimes you have to become best friends with yourself. Sometimes the only person that you have around you is you. Sometimes the person who doesn't know themselves doesn't truly love who they are, because love is just a reflection of knowledge. So if you know who you are on the inside, if you know that you're going to be getting up at a certain time, if you know that you have challenges to work through and places to go through and things to do, then you have to allow those things to have their place. You got to allow yourself to work to that level. You have to allow yourself to have those kind of challenges and to have that kind of a place inside of yourself where you focus to that ability. See, each of us has challenges. Each of us has things to work on. Each of us has things to go through. Are we focusing at that level where positivity becomes the results and we're not surprised in the results? Are we only searching out positivity in our life? Are we only searching out things that allow positivity to move into our direction? And each day that we do that for ourselves, each day that we put ourselves in that place where we use our mentality at that level, where we have the ability to go within ourselves, we have the ability to get down with the challenges that each of us face off against, that's when we become a blessing in the universe. That's when the motivation becomes a reflection. When it's not about somebody else, it's about you and your path. It's about you and your journey. And you don't have to do that in a selfish way. You don't have to make other people feel uncomfortable. You can do that by being who you are on the inside and facing off against your own challenges. You can do that by not being selfish to other people. See, the universe is not selfish. When you walk outside, there's plenty of air. When you walk in the world, it's in such a way in which you have your mentality. You have your ability. You have your challenges. You have your focus. You have your ability to put yourself in a place where you could see positivity around you, where you could start seeking out positivity, where the challenges that you go through, you have the ability to overcome. And it requires the person within you. It requires the ability inside of yourself. And there's never a day that's not worth picking yourself up. There's never a day that's not worth getting down with your challenges. There's never a day. And that's why I talk about writing stuff down. I talk about writing down those challenges that you face off against. And you know, there's only one person that can do that for yourself, and that's you. See, and sometimes you have to get down to the point where you're not comparing yourself to other people. You're right where you are. And, you know, you got to put yourself in a check to where, let's do this for myself. And see, what we got going on inside of ourselves is what matters the most. And see, when we love ourselves, it's just a reflection of self-knowledge. Okay? Every emotion you've ever learned, every fear, every pain, is related to your knowledge. It's related to your being. It's related to the things that you go through. It's related to your vibration. It's related to the person that you are inside. And so, when we are focused at that level, where we're using that ability inside of ourselves to face off against our own challenges, then we have the ability to start working on them. Then we have the ability to start going within. Then the ability inside of ourselves starts to grow. And it's like a seed. You got to water it every day. You got to sit down today and tomorrow and say, well, these things were not positive. How do I start turning them positive? How do I start putting them in a place where I use them? How do I start putting them in a place where I start to focus, where I start to get down with my own mentality, where I start to get down with my own ability, where what I got going on inside is greater than the challenges that I face off against. And so, you see, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you stop comparing yourself to other people, that's when you have the ability to start to grow. That's when you have the ability to be who you are on the inside. That's when the person that you are inside starts to manifest. The positive and negative forces in the universe start working for you. The positive and the negative forces in the universe start to become you. They start to manifest you. You see, you're a blessing in this universe. You started a path. You know, have you taken the time to use those skills that you may have learned in school, which is to study? Have you taken the time to study yourself yet even 10%? Have you taken the time to sit down with who you are inside and to start to ask yourself, is this the direction in which I want to go? Is this the positivity? Is this the position that I want to hold? Or am I searching in the wrong direction? Am I putting myself in a negative place where negativity is becoming a reflection? See, focusing comes from within. It comes from the outside no longer having the ability to crush you. See, that was the thing I faced off against when both of my hips were displaced, vertebrae in the center of my belly button was out of place, and my neck was elongated. When do you start to see yourself? And I started to ask myself that question when I was going through it. See, I started to ask myself, you know, am I going to end up in a wheelchair? Am I going to get up and I'm going to start to put myself in a place where I pick myself up, where the experience that I went through and I could overcome? So that's within you to do so. And so from there, I did 17 chiropractic visits, ended up running 6 miles a day and body surfing, doing yoga and meditation at the beach. So where do you want to be? Where is your level of focus? Where is your level of challenge? Where is Where is it within yourself that when you face off against challenge, you believe that you can overcome your challenges? When do you start to get down with the person that you are inside and start to face off against that person inside of who you are? So that's when I started to get inwards. That's when I started to use self-study. That's when I started to put myself in a place where I had the ability to start to go inwards, where I had the ability to be who I was on the inside, where the challenges that I faced off against, I had the ability to overcome. And see, we each face those kind of challenges. We each have that kind of place. We each have that kind of place where if we're willing to go inwards, if we're willing to sit down by ourselves, if we're willing to sit down inside of who we are, we have the ability to overcome our challenges. We have the ability to believe in ourselves. We have the ability to be who we are on the inside. And so, are we focused on that, or are we focusing towards things that are bringing us closer to ourselves? Are we focused towards things that are not allowing us to be who we are on the inside? Are we allowing those people to allow that kind of thing to bring us away from what is bringing us towards positivity? Are we allowing the people to stop us from growing? Are we allowing our ability inside of ourselves to grow, or are we stagnant? And so how do we start to get inwards to start using that kind of energy? How do we start to get inwards to getting ourselves to that kind of place? How do we start to utilize our being? How do we get to the place where our presence becomes within? How do we start to face off against those kinds of challenges where what we got going on inside has the ability to overcome? You see, focusing to that point where that is what is important is who you are. What is important is what you're going through. What is important is who you're becoming and what you're manifesting. And so, are we focusing to that level where we're using what we have inside of ourselves? Are we using the person that we are inside? Are we focusing to the place where we have that ability inside of ourselves to be a blessing in the universe? And so are we getting down with our breath to that point where we have that kind of purpose, where we have that kind of page, where we have that kind of chapter? See, the mentality inside of yourself is what it's about. The person that you are inside, the energy, the emotion, the fears, the knowledge, the ability inside of oneself to face off against one's challenge, to face off against one's being, to be who they are on the inside, to manifest that level of understanding. And so within you lays energy, within you lays your ability to sit down and study yourself, to challenge yourself, to open your mind to a level beyond, to be the person within you that you always have been. And it's inside of believing that you can do it. It's inside of believing that you can become it. It's inside of becoming that blessing within the universe. And so focus to that place inside of you where you're using that, where you're becoming that, where you're manifesting that. Focus to that place where what you have going on within you, you have the ability to overcome. You have the ability to wake up today and to say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to become it, I'm going to manifest it. And at that level within oneself, at that level within one's being, at that level within one's purpose, the reflection starts to radiate, the being inside starts to become, the being inside starts to manifest, the understanding within yourself starts to radiate light outwards. Because you are a blessing in this universe. You have a light inside of this universe. And it's when we see it for ourselves that matters the most. And you see, positivity starts to come out. Positivity starts to happen around you. It starts to happen within you. It starts to become a place where you start to light up in this world, where you start to become a light within the universe. And so, how do you start to access that knowledge inside of you? How do you start to get to the place where positivity becomes a result. I was asked once, how do you overcome emotion? How do you overcome emotion? First, you learn the emotion. First, you get to the place where you've learned the emotion. Before then, it was a level of focus. Then it turned into knowledge within yourself. So you track back the process that you did to get there. You track back the ability to get to that place. You track back the student inside to the teacher to do the examination. You track back the mentality within you to focus beyond your challenges. You get to the place inside of who you are where you have that ability to face off against those kind of challenges, where the knowledge behind is what matters, where the knowledge behind has its place, where the knowledge behind has its purpose. And then from there you see the seed. You see the seed of knowledge from it. You see the seed that gives you the liberation. You see the seed within yourself to overcome it. You see the ability inside of who you are to manifest. And so each of us that go within, we have challenges. We have things that we work on and that we work through. And it's inside of oneself that all you can be is you. That all you can be is who you are. It's inside of one's being that we have the ability to go within. It's inside of one's being that we have the ability to be ourselves, to face off against our challenges, to manifest our being, to focus beyond those types of things. And in connecting with oneself, we see a reflection of meditation. We see a reflection of being. We see a reflection of that knowledge being used. We see a reflection of that blessing that you are inside. And so, are you becoming that within you? Are you working on that? Are you putting yourself in that kind of a place? Are you bringing that kind of a reflection outwards, where your own level of self-study, where your own being is worth it, where your own challenges are worth it? Are you on a page within you where what you focus on and what you focus through, you have the ability to overcome? Or are you allowing the things around you to overcome you? Are you allowing the things around you to ask yourself the question that nobody else will, that nobody else can? See, each of us have challenges. Each of us have things to work through. And when do we get through those challenges? When do we get to the page where we have the ability inside of ourselves to face off against those kinds of challenges? Looking inside of ourselves, we see a beautiful person. We see a beautiful aspect. We see somebody who has been through challenges and has made it through challenges and has multiple challenges to work on and to go through and to become. Are you focusing to that point where you're using them? Are you focusing to that point where you're manifesting from within you? You're manifesting from within your being. You're putting yourself on a page where you're using your challenges, where your focus is coming from within and it's radiating light outwards. And so, how do we get down at that level? How do we get down with that part of our being? How do we get down to where the reflection starts to radiate outwards from within us, where what we have going on inside is greater than the challenges on the outside, unless you start to know yourself. Start to know who you are. Start to know that, you have that kind of a challenge. So this is what it takes for you to go within. This is what it takes for you to be who you are. This is what it takes for you to face off against that person inside of who you are. And so each of us face off against that student and that teacher inside of ourselves. We look at what we do and how we do things and where we do things, and we look at what challenges we face off against. and we ask ourselves the questions. We ask ourselves, how do we do it? How do we become it? How do we face off against it? And so each of us have that place inside of who we are where we ask ourselves that type of question. So let's go ahead and start looking at how discipline plays in here. When you use your focus, when you use your knowledge, when you become centered within yourself, when you become who you are, when you start to care about yourself, when you start to care about your being, when you start to care about your level of focus, you start to overcome your challenges, you start to be who you are on the inside. The person that you are on the inside has the ability to overcome those challenges, has the ability to be able to manifest within, to focus to the point where the whole being becomes connected, where the whole being has the ability to face off against the challenges, has the ability to see the blessing that you are, has the ability to ask the questions, has the ability to go through the parts and the things that only you can go through. And so, are we doing that for ourselves? Are we giving ourselves that place? Are we going through those types of challenges to where we have the ability to overcome them? And so each challenge that we go through, each thing that we ask ourselves, and how we react and how we act towards others is important to your own being, to your own path, to your own purpose, your own journey. And we have to ask ourselves, are we doing things in a positive direction? Are we putting ourselves in a place where we're becoming who we are on the inside? Are we manifesting from within who we are? Are we focusing to that level where we use those kinds of challenges, where we use those kinds of mentality, where we use those kinds of level of focus within ourselves, where our being starts to radiate light, where the person that we are inside starts to manifest outwards, where our focus comes from within and it radiates outwards. See, each challenge that we go through is there to see if you're going to act positive or negative towards it. If you're going to put yourself in a place where you use it, or you let it become a part of you, or if you focus through it. And so, see, it's within ourselves that we start to see these types of things. It's within ourselves where we allow these types of things to happen. It's within ourselves that we allow these types of things to happen around us. And so each day that we go through challenge, each day that we put ourselves on that kind of a page where we're focusing and we're not allowing the things that are not moving us towards positivity to be around us. We're not allowing those types of challenges to have the ability to overcome us. And so, are we focusing to that level where we are with that kind of mentality? See, I don't allow myself to be in places where I'm not able to be who I am, where I'm not able to focus to that level where I use what I have, where I will focus to that level to be who I am on the inside. And see, I know that this universe is a great place. I know that the challenges that we face off against, the people that we are inside, the people that we are on the outside, the challenges that we focus through, they're there for us. And so are you focusing to that level where you're using your knowledge and your focus? Are you at the place where you're centering yourself and positivity is coming in your direction? Are you at the place where the results are not a surprise? They're not a surprise when you're not appreciating the people that you have around you. You're not appreciating the challenges that you face off against, the knowledge that's going to be there, the knowledge that type of thing you're going to go through. And so, how do we focus to that place where we use it? How do we focus to that level where what we have going on inside, we have the ability to overcome. And so, how do we give ourselves that ability to have that kind of manifestation? How do we give ourselves that kind of ability to get down with that person that we truly are? And see, when positivity starts coming in your direction, are you embracing it or are you pushing it away? Are you putting yourself in a place where what you're using is your being, you're using yourself, you're becoming who you are on the inside, and your blessings are starting to radiate outwards, your purpose is starting to radiate outwards. And so within oneself is a light, and within oneself is a being. And we allow ourselves to be limited when we take negativity to be the approach, when we take negativity to be the angle. So how do we start using positivity in that direction? See, how do we start to bring positivity towards ourselves? How do we start to bring positivity into our beings? How do we start to bring it into our ability to be who we are on the inside? And so when we look at those that we care about and we don't treat them with positivity, we don't treat them with the ability inside of themselves to grow, and we try to stop them from growing, then we pull ourselves out of that place of positivity within our own universe, within our own being, within our own level of light within who we are. And that's when your light starts to diminish. So are you letting your discipline become a reflection? Are you letting your being inside become a reflection? Are you letting who you are inside utilize who you are? Or are you becoming not that kind of a person? So how do we use positivity in that direction? How do we allow those types of things to fill those kind of places? How do we allow those types of things to face off against those kinds of challenges? How do we get to that point where we use what we have inside, where we use what we have and what we're going on against us as a positive force, as a positive being, as a positive purpose? And it's inside of ourselves that we go to find that place. It's inside of ourselves that we go to find that purpose, and it's inside of who we are that we put ourselves in a place where we use our challenges to our advantage, that we use our ability inside of ourselves to overcome our challenges, that we focus to that point where what we have going on inside is worth it, where what we have going on inside is the ability to overcome those kinds of challenges. See, focusing to that place where what we have going on is greater than the challenges going on around us is what it's about. Discipline to the point where we become a blessing within the universe, where the universe has the ability to become our friend, has the ability to become the one who has blessings that yield to you, have things that you are able to overcome, that you're able to become, that you're able to manifest. And it's beauty inside of oneself to test at that level. It's beauty inside of oneself to become that type of person. You know, we have challenges. We are human beings. We are present within ourselves. We're present within our challenges. We're present within our level of understanding, our level of focus, our level of manifestation, our level of focus beyond focus, knowledge beyond knowledge, discipline to the point of inspiration. See, when is your knowledge and your focus connected to the point where it radiates a light of inspiration? When are other people becoming uplifted by your level of positivity? When are they starting to see that you have what it takes to be who you are, that you have what it takes to make it through your challenges? And so, are we giving ourselves that kind of a place? Are we giving ourselves that kind of a purpose? Are we getting to that place where we're bringing positivity into our lives, where we're bringing positivity into our beings, where we're bringing positivity into the ability to overcome our own challenges? See, are we focusing to that level? Are we giving ourselves that kind of place? Are we giving ourselves that kind of purpose where what we have going on inside is worth it? What we have going on inside is you, and that you are a blessing, that you have challenges, that you can work through them. And so when we focus beyond those kinds of challenges, when we put ourselves in that kind of a place where we're focused to that point where we're using our challenges to the place beyond our challenges, where the universe has the ability to use your level of inspiration, your level of being, your level of purpose. And it isn't even about a level, it's about a being vibrating that kind of understanding, being vibrating that kind of discipline, being vibrating that kind of reflection. And so, are you focusing to that place where you're utilizing it at that level? Are you utilizing your being to the point where other people see the reflection coming out of you from your own mentality, from your own ability to go within, your own ability to be who you are on the inside? Are you focusing to that place where you're using that person, where you're using that person inside of you, where you're using that person inside of your being? And so, are you able to see that you are a blessing, that you have challenges, that you can do this, that you can truly become an inspiration, that you can truly use positivity, that you can truly use the person that you are inside, and that you can truly light up in this world, that other people can see you as a reflection of inspiration? And that's the question I ask myself every day. Is what I'm doing today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. And that's where we go within. That's where the connection between the outside world and the inside world become a reflection. And we each have it. We each have a reflection. We each have a being. We each have a purpose. We each have a path. And it isn't going to happen if you want it from somebody else. It's not going to happen for somebody else. It's going to be who you are on the inside. It's going to be the challenges that you choose to go through. It's going to be the person that you want to be. It's going to be the challenges that you want to face off against. And the discipline that you have to utilize this universe. The discipline that you have to be that kind of blessing. The discipline that you have to go to that level to where you use what you have inside. And so, how do we focus to that level? How do we start to get there? How do we start to get to the place where discipline becomes a reflection, where other people start to see you as an inspiration, unless you're not comparing yourself to other people, unless you're going within who you are, unless you're being who you are on the inside, if you're not allowing yourself to be who you are, if you're not allowing yourself to connect your focus and your knowledge, if you're not being honest with who you are inside, that's when you start to get to the place where discipline starts to become important. That's when inspiration starts to become important. When you want to become a tool within the universe, when you want the universe to utilize you, when you want the universe to utilize the gifts that you have, it's going to come from your level of positivity. It's going to come from your level of self-study. It's going to come from your level of being. In any profession, in any field, it's the person who's willing to continue to hammer at it who succeeds. The one who's willing to take the test 3 to 5 times, 6 times, 8 times, who ends up succeeding even that one time after. And so it was yet but the light bulb that took 1,001 tries to be able to make. Yet we use the light bulb every day. We use the cell phone every day. They were at a place where they were focusing in Star Trek. They focused to the point where they actually imagined the cell phone that we have today. And it wasn't until they put their mind to it. It wasn't until they put their knowledge to it. It wasn't until they sat down and grinded to the level where they made it possible, where they made the ability within become a reflection on the outside, that it became manifested. And that is what I'm talking about, my friends. That is what I'm talking about. Who you inside? Who is the reflection outwards? What are the challenges that you face off against? What is the person that you face off against inside of yourself? And how do you overcome your own challenges? How do you get to the place where the focus within you starts to radiate light outwards? How do you start to get to the place where the focus within you starts to manifest, where the being within you starts to create a light? After all, you're all lights within the universe. You are all blessings within the universe. You all have challenges And you all have a place of positive and negative thinking, and it's up to you to find it for yourself, to get to the place where your positivity starts to become a reflection and other people start to see you as a blessing within the universe. You know, and it's within ourselves that we have to look. It's within who we are that we want to grow. It's inside of who we are that we become. It's inside of who we are that we manifest. And it's inside of who we are that we become a reflection of our level of discipline. As I close, I just want to say blessings to you all. I want to inspire you to be yourselves. I want to inspire you to believe in yourself, and I want to inspire you to become a positive force in the universe.